working with partners on procuring personal protective equipment, which you hear so much about, following up on cases of diseases, and generally just sort of running the response hand in hand with the partners in the community. Been in the community now 22 years, I think, working for the health department.
Fantastic. And then next we have Dr. Jason Russell from Memorial Health.
Hi, I'm Jason Russell. I'm the Medical Director for Quality of Risk. I've been at the hospital for about 5 years. I was an emergency medicine doctor before now, and now I'm part of the administration.
Great, thanks, Jason. And then I believe we have Mackenzie Marquis from Mary Haven with us as well.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Marquis. I'm from Mary Haven. My primary role is I'm the school navigator for Marysville schools, primarily our kindergarten through 6th grade. I've been with Mary Haven for 2 years, grew up in Marysville, so this town is near and dear to me, so thank you.
Great, thanks, Mackenzie. And then we have Janae Mulvaney, also from Mary Haven.
Unmute yourself, Janae.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm Janae. I'm also a school navigator. I do grades 7 through 12 for Marysville schools. I also do youth case management and youth alcohol and drug counseling. I've worked for Mary Haven for 12 years now in community mental health and really enjoy it. So thanks for having me.
Great, thanks, Janae. And then we have Dr. Phil Adkins from the Union County Mental Health and Recovery Board.
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Atkins from the Mental Health and Recovery Board, and our role is to plan and fund for services for mental health and substance abuse and keeping people well, working with our schools. We fund a lot of different agencies, Ohio Guidestone, Mary Haven, Lighthouse Behavioral Health, PASS, and on and on. So I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. This is a really wild time for all of us, so I'm very excited to hear what's going to happen today. Thanks for coming.
Great. Next we have Adam Shirk, who is our superintendent for Fairbanks Community Schools.
Hi everybody, my name is Adam. I hope my audio is not too bad. For some reason in our schools today, it's moving a little slow. This is my first year serving as superintendent in Fairbanks local schools. I enjoy working with several of the adults that are here on a regular basis to support our students, families, and communities. I'm passionate about public education, and occasionally Mrs. Allen kicks my butt like she has been the last several days. So I learn a lot from her, and she keeps me in the straight and narrow. So thanks for letting me be here today and adding to this community conversation.
Awesome. Next, we have Abby Watson from Marysville High School.
Hi everyone, I'm Abby Watson. I'm one of the guidance counselors at Marysville High School. Super excited to see everyone today. I've just been at home this whole time, so it's lovely to see everyone's faces and get a chance to talk to everyone. And here to help in any way. I've been with Marysville High School for about, I believe, 8 years now, and love the school so much. So excited to help in any way I can.
Fantastic. Then we have, I think, Coach Brent Johnson is also on the call.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Johnson, teacher at Marysville and College Credit Plus coordinator. I've done that the last 3 years. I've taught for about 16 years, and 14 of those have been at Marysville. So my wife and I have been here for about 16 years and love the community and excited to hear the questions today.
Awesome, thank you. We also have Diane Allen, who is the superintendent of Marysville Schools.
Hi everyone, Diane Allen, superintendent. Like you said, excited to be here, talk to everyone, and see if we can kind of get through this together. If I've learned nothing else about Marysville in my 8 years, is that we all chip in and Union County, sorry Adam, and make it all work. So I'm sure we'll be able to help people out today.
Great attitude, I love it. And then finally, we have Lieutenant Sean Cook from the State Highway Patrol.
Hello, my name is Sean Cook. I am the post commander at the Marysville Highway Patrol Post. We cover Logan and Union counties. I've been the trooper for about 17 years. I've only been a post commander here since November of 2019. I moved to Union County in February of this year. And what I do know from where I've come from, I came from Lima, is there's some really good stuff going on here in Union County. And I'm proud to be a resident here, and I'm proud to be a part of this panel as well.
Great. So thank you to all of our panelists. I know we have other community members that are tuning in to listen. So if they are welcome to chime in as well. We're just going to kind of pose these questions one at a time. Each of our teams are going to take turns doing that and throwing it out there for you guys to give your best answers based on your experience. So we're going to go ahead and start that off. I'll go ahead and throw it to Taylor, who is going to pose our first question. So if each of our teams want to say their name, their grade, what school they attend, and if you want to add anything else, you're welcome to. So go ahead and take it away, Taylor.
Hi, my name is Taylor Brake. I'm a junior in high school. I live in the Fairbanks district where I homeschool with my brother and my sister. My first question is, what will life look like for people living with high-risk individuals, such as people with asthma or the elderly, when quarantine is lifted? Are there any protocols in place to protect these individuals when it comes to returning to work or school?
Unless someone else wants to jump in, I can offer a little insight into that based on what we're doing right now and the governor and the director's current orders. One of the most important things that will still remain in play all summer, probably most of next school year, will be the idea of the social distancing, the improved hygiene measures, and the idea of wearing a mask. All of those are going to help protect vulnerable folks, including those who are at high risk for complications from COVID-19 as a result of an underlying illness, like what you described. So if we're looking to sort of the social aspects of what we would be requiring from folks, continuing that 6 feet, which is very difficult and is part of the discussions that are happening right now for businesses, but also relative to schools and universities. How will we do that 6 feet of distancing as we move into next fall? We know that wearing a face covering, a mask of some kind, helps prevent the spread of the disease from ill folks to healthy folks. And so this expectation that the governor is really laying out, that we're going to see people wearing masks pretty routinely. And as we begin to reopen, businesses are required to have masks. It's not an option. So everyone who works in a business setting will be required to wear a mask, and that will help protect vulnerable folks who at some point have to go out to get supplies, go to the store, those sorts of things. We may see people continuing to do things like special hours or arrange for by appointment for folks who have health concerns as well. So some special environmental considerations will have to take place, and then just general environmental cleaning. As long as we keep the hygiene level up to make sure desks and doorknobs and all of those sort of surfaces are routinely being cleaned, that will help reduce the transmission of the disease. If we really emphasize washing our hands, it helps reduce transmission of disease, covering a cough. So the same thing we would do during any high peak disease term, like during traditional flu, you're basically going to see that taken throughout the year and not just during normal flu season to help reduce COVID-19. And then again, the social distancing, looking at different schedules, staggered schedules, all of those are in play right now. But every day things change, new information comes out, and we have to update our guidance. So what we're planning now could change a lot between now and the fall when school goes back into session, but all of those are being considered, including those vulnerable populations.
Thank you.
Great. Did anyone else have anything to add to that? That was super detailed and awesome.
I would add from our district's perspective is we anticipate, even with the measures that are going to be put into place, there are going to be students and potentially staff that are not going to be able to return because of their their personal health needs or people in their home. So we anticipate that regardless of when we return to school in somewhat of a traditional fashion, we are going to have a percentage of our students that we are going to still have to connect with remotely. We don't know what that looks like, and we don't want to speculate too much, but that's one of the contingencies that we're prepared for, is that we're going to have folks that have health needs that aren't going to be able to return to our schools. We still want to make sure they're cared for and continue to receive educational services through our district. So that is something that we're already talking about of what that may look like, but we haven't gone too far down specifics for individuals or groups of folks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. So it looks like Kaylee has been able to rejoin us. Hi, Kaylee. So if you want to unmute yourself, we just finished question 1. So if you want to take it over on letting everyone know who's going to ask question 2.
Absolutely. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone. Wasn't expecting that one. So my question for you guys is, do we know any more about the timeline of reopening and the stages that are going to happen when we start reopening? Are counties going to have, are they going to follow the same procedures, or are they each going to have their own unique ones?
I suppose I'll take this one as well. So by the time you're done, you're going to get tired of hearing my voice, is my prediction right now. But in terms of the order, it's important for folks to sort of understand that the order for stay-at-home and for business closures and all those things have gone into play have come directly from the state of Ohio. So it's the director of the Department of Health has issued those orders. So from that perspective, every community is legally and ethically obligated to follow that order as it was intended. So from that perspective, it should look fairly similar in the broadest sense. So if restaurants are closed in Union County, it's because restaurants are closed in Logan County, and they're closed in Marion County, and they're closed in Delaware County. So from that sense, it'll look the same. From a local perspective, there's some variability that will begin to occur as people do a better or worse job following the orders in order to reopen. So if a business can follow the recommendations for masks for employees, for the social distancing, and doing that, they will open faster and easier than for businesses who don't. And that's where you'll see variability in communities and interpretation. There has been some different interpretation of the orders as they currently stand. And part of that is to give flexibility to local communities to address local needs. When those variabilities become too onerous or too much of a problem, there's a process for those to be vetted at a state level, and the state makes a ruling as to which interpretation stands, and then that applies to everybody across the state equally at that point. So there is limited variability, limited ability to do some interpretation on behalf of what the orders look like, but by and large, we all have to follow the same set of orders. In terms of the reopening plan, in the last couple of days, you've seen the governor and the director talk about reopening in the state of Ohio, and they've laid out that the current stay-at-home order that applies to everyone, that limits the number of people who can be together to 10 or less, that they all have to be from the same household. Those aspects of the stay-at-home order are going to continue at this time indefinitely. We don't have the sunset for that right now, because they haven't delivered the new order, but they've told us the order that was set to expire at midnight on Friday is going to continue. In terms of the businesses that are going to reopen on beginning Friday, with the current order that expires, medical procedures that were elective and perhaps canceled will be allowed to schedule and start occurring, and including potentially dentists and all the allied medical health sort of fields, the OT, PT, things that may have been delayed during the stay-at-home order. The other thing that we've heard from them is that Monday, construction, distribution, and manufacturing are all allowed to open. So Monday the 4th. And it's worth noting, a lot of those are already open, but there are some that are still closed, but those will be allowed to open on Monday without restrictions other than what's required for businesses moving forward. And then on May 12th, you will see additional businesses will be allowed to open. The retail centers will be allowed to open. We don't currently have a plan for hair salons and massages and gyms and those kind of things. Those are still unknown, and we're still waiting on guidance as to what that will look like. There is a document that the governor put out that lists all the places that will not be allowed to open during this first phased-in approach. And it's important to recognize that the phased-in approach is to allow these businesses to open with the current mandates that are going to be required. Social distancing will be required, hygiene, new sick policies, face mask, all of those are going to be required for any business that's open and operating. And so they're phasing in that process, trying to slowly readjust our community to this new way of life before everybody is thrust back in, and we can monitor, because of the slow transition, for any new cases that come up. So we have both an enforcement issue and we have a monitoring for new disease cases and contact tracing that have to occur as we open back up. So those are some of the aspects of what it's going to look like as we reopen.
Thank you.
Kaylee, I'm going to let you take the facilitating over here. So if you want to move us along according to our script here on who's asking
Alrighty.
next.
Okay, we're moving on to question 3, which is going to come from Jake.
My name is Jake Hibbs. I'm a freshman at the Marysville High School. My question is, how are issues around teens taking driver's ed and getting the license being handled?
We stumped him.
Maybe someone that works in law enforcement or any kind of public agency like that would have an answer.
Yeah. So I can speak to, so I can't speak to what the school or where you're taking your driver's education class at. I can speak to the BMV. So right now, the BMV has very limited operating places and hours. And in fact, the only thing that the BMV is doing right now is issuing new licenses to people who have a commercial driver's license or renewing a commercial driver's license. So at this point in time, like a new driver could not go to a BMV, to any one of the ones that are open still, and obtain a driver's license. The only new driver's license that will be issued again will be a commercial driver's license. And as it relates to a renewal, it's the same, only a commercial driver's license.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Our fourth question also comes from Jake.
All right. What are your recommendations to managing the changes due to virtual learning, and what is working and what is not working?
I can probably help a little bit with that, what I see when I talk to our students here at Marysville High School. A lot of times we tell students have some sort of set schedule. So at time, when you wake up, you get breakfast, when do you start working? Give yourself maybe, a 30-minute break throughout the day, lunch, but really to try to keep that schedule every single day. The other thing is I think is huge, is really keeping in contact with all of your teachers. Even if you're working, sometimes just shooting an email once a week saying, hey, I'm working on this right now, just wanted to let you know, so they know where you're at and you can ask any questions. Most of our teachers, at least I know at the high school, also have like meeting times where they set like office hours where they'll do Zoom meetings for anyone who has questions about homework. Or if you're someone that doesn't really like to be, in the classroom like this, we have, you can have, reach out to the teacher and do individual Zoom meetings with them, and they can pull up their screen and do like a little whiteboard to show you, like, let's say it's math, how to do the problem, that kind of a thing. So that's a lot of times what I recommend to our students, having a schedule, keeping on that schedule, letting your teachers know where you're at and attending the Zoom meetings.
I can add a little bit to that as well on the online stuff. What I think has been pretty cool about it, and while I don't know if it's ideal, it's what's been, that's the event, and our response is to go online. However, in every class, and some of you students, you may be one or the other. Some kids really want that interaction with the teacher. Some kids really like to kind of self-study themselves through it with Zoom. I've had many one-on-ones, I've had some small group, and then I have those kids that are working through it on their own. So I think from a learning perspective, kids can use whatever method they learn best. And as a teacher and as a school district, we're supporting that. I know we spend a lot of time trying to get in contact with those kids. So I recommend you get, like Ms. Watson said, keep in contact with your teacher. The teacher is going to meet your needs one way or the other.
All right, thank you. And as a follow-up question, are there any plans for blended learning in the future?
I'll take that one. I would say that even Adam and I have talked about, we know that probably some kind of blended platform is going to be inevitable in the fall. So what that looks like today, we're not sure. One of our biggest obstacles, and I would assume Fairbanks and North Union share that, is really this idea of access and equity around internet. Quite honestly, it needs to be just like electricity these days. And we still have a lot of families, that may have started off with it, but their parents lost their job or their data package cannot be increased because they have some financial circumstances getting in the way. So we've ordered hotspots to get out to those families, but really trying to come up with a system in which we can make sure that that's not an access and equity issue for our students, and make sure that everyone has the opportunity to do that. So I think that's still one of our challenges, even moving into the fall, even though we realize we're probably not going to be doing school as we're used to it for quite some time.
I'm going to echo what Mrs. Allen said, especially around the point about equity, and I'm going to take it away from technology a little bit. Our equity in the home environments that our students really have an impact on remote learning. And so, for example, right now we have some students that are the primary earners in their family because their parent has been either furloughed or laid off from a job. And so how do we provide opportunities for them to continue to grow in their education, but also recognize that there are circumstances with families right now that were unpredictable 6 or 7 weeks ago. What remote learning looks like in one home is going to look very different in another home, just based on some of the things that Ms. Watson was talking about with schedules and support. It's very different supporting a first grader than it is a 12th grader. And the ability of a 12th grader to work independently compared to that first grader are two different things. So equity is, I think, right after you talk about access, and there is access and equity access, but really the idea of what is the experience and how do we balance for our most vulnerable populations when we start to talk about special learning or special education, social emotional learning and the supports that students have in the social construct at school, students that depend on school for food, and some that aren't able to make it to our schools to get those free meals right now. Like, those are all pieces of when kids are learning and students are learning remotely that concern me and concern our organization. And so when we go, I do agree. I do think that we're going to have in the short term and potentially the long term blended learning in our traditional K-12 schools. We also have to account for the equity issues that arise because of it. And we may not see it in our school community, but when we start to talk about a Cleveland City schools compared to a Dublin schools, what are those different issues and access points? If you didn't know this, Ohio has about 613 public school districts across the state of Ohio, and each one is very different. There's graduation classes of 20 compared to graduation classes of 600. So those different demographics and those different characteristics really shift at local level. So equity is a big issue locally as well as at a state level.
Well, not being an educator, I would just like to hear from the kids. What's working for you? How has this worked for you? This is a little bit different for you as well. So what's going well? What do you need?
That's a super great question. Thanks for asking. Taylor, do you want to share your thoughts first?
Yeah, so we're actually homeschooled, so we're kind of used to this. So we do online schooling and, just different resources and curriculum. So for us, it's been, pretty much the same. But I know a lot of my friends have, had trouble with online school and just trying to figure it all out. So, yeah.
Do you have an opinion on it, Jake?
It's been going okay. It's something to get used to and try to create a schedule around everything else in the house right now. But yeah, for all these unpredictable changes, it's pretty well so far.
Do you have anything to say, Alyssa?
Yeah, I adjust very slowly to things, so it's a little hard for me along with like my learning disabilities that I do have. So it would help if like teachers would put like all the information in like one spot instead of it being scattered around the way it is for my school. So yeah.
That's a really good point. Do you have anything to add, Olivia?
As what some of my friends have said, that yes, it's been hard for them and it's been hectic, and but the teachers are doing a really good job, and it's been hard.
I have to agree with all of their sentiments. The teachers are doing an amazing job. Nobody was expecting this, so the way that we're coping with it is really great. I have the exact opposite problem as Alyssa. I'm used to really advanced classes, so it's a little bit weird going from a good amount of classwork to it's really hard to teach calculus from a distance, and it's really hard to teach shop classes from a distance. So it's interesting to see how the workload has changed and how even learning from a distance, I still feel like I am learning and I'm still progressing. So I'm just really proud that the teachers have held it together so well. Thank you for that question. Does anyone else have any insight to add to that? Awesome. We're going to move on to question 5 from Taylor.
Okay. What resources should teens be using to find summer jobs right now? Should we be applying for jobs right now, or should we wait and see what happens as the stay-at-home restrictions are lifted?
This might be a difficult question to answer, but does anyone from our school districts have any insight on if they're gathering any resources for students in this matter?
A little bit to it. I don't know necessarily if you should, be applying for jobs right now or not. I would be just, I know a lot of the places, probably like Kroger, that kind of thing. If you apply now, they probably really need the help. And so they'll probably, want you to start right away. So I think a lot of area places probably like Kroger's, Walmart's and stuff are probably hiring it, if you wanted to get a job. I know from a school standpoint, if you are of a certain age, you do need a work permit. So I can speak to the work permit a little bit. If you are a student who needs a work permit, you can go on to our website and print off the work permit, get it filled out, you give it to your employer, and your employer will hold on to that work permit until the school, the office opens back up. And then once that the Marysville High School office opens back up, or if you're at ECHS, opens back up, then you can bring that work permit into them and they will file it with the state and print off your work permit. So I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, but.
Rachel, can I add something real quick? I'm Beth Miller. I'm from PASS, and I'm not on the panel, but Dr. Phil asked me to share an opportunity that PASS has for the summer. We have a summer program, and we're working on figuring out how we can make it work if we can't meet together, but there is an opportunity to earn $400 if you come to the program. The program is for those interested in social work and mental health careers. It helps you to explore the mental health and social work side of careers, and we'll focus on like what university requirements are, what licensing, different scholarship opportunities, all of those type of things. So if you're interested in that, we can definitely get you that information. I know that I've sent the information out to at least one person in each of the school districts, mostly guidance counselors. So if you want to reach out, I know Mrs. Quisenberry at the high school in Marysville, Mrs. Patterson at North Union. I think I passed it on to Mr. Newell at Fairbanks, but I will double check on that. But there's lots of opportunities out there, even if you aren't looking for a summer job. This is a great way to learn and earn a little bit of money in the process.
It's something that we really wanted to support PASS in doing, because we need people to go to college, become social workers, become counselors, and come back to Union County and work in our agencies. So if you're somebody who has a real interest in the helping fields, be sure to check that out. And you can go to PASS, and maybe Beth, you could post your contact information in for everybody, and that would be great.
Great, I'll do that. Thank you.
So I'll talk about what the YMCA is looking for. So I'm Trevor, I'm your CEO at your Y. This is awesome. Thank you all, students and professionals, for joining us, and Rachel and Nancy for putting this together with our leaders, teen leaders in our community. As a business, a lot of our businesses in our local community are waiting for those governor orders and the reopening orders, the questions you've asked for or asked us about. And we're trying to figure out, what does our business look like when we do reopen? How do we reopen, and how do we hire you all at the Y? We do hire high school students. Make sure that, one, you all are safe. So I literally just lost.
We lost you for a second, Trevor, but we can hear you now. Nope. I can continue his sentiment because I talk to Trevor on the daily about the YMCA and how we work. So I think he was just expressing how once we have the go-ahead to reopen, and we know the safe way to do that for all of you guys and everyone that walks in our door, we will be gung-ho on hiring high school age and college age students for any and all positions that we're looking for. So a lot of those include being sports referees, being assistants in our fitness center, and being lifeguards, if you're interested in that, just to name a few.
Hey, Rachel, I'm back.
You're back, Trevor. Hey, it's okay. I took over.
So for our students, see, technology breaks down all the time. And so my computer died on me, which is fine, but that's why we have phones and things. So yeah, Rachel's spot on though. We have lifeguarding positions, we have youth sports positions and things. And although we don't know how that's going to look, what I would suggest is that the businesses that you would normally apply to over the summer are still going to be posting what available positions are coming up on their social media websites and on their websites. So the normal avenues in which you normally would maybe apply for jobs, those should still be starting to pop up here in the next month or two, so that you should know what you can apply to and maybe what you want to do over the summer. Hopefully we have some sort of normalcy with social distancing and everything, as our health commissioner said, but definitely continue to look on those websites that you are interested in working for, and maybe a few of you will work for us at the Y as well. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Is there anyone else who wanted to add to that? Any other opportunities that you know of? All right, then we will move on to question 6, which is also from Taylor. Can you unmute your mic for me, Taylor?
There we go. Is it on? Okay, sorry. What is the plan for Union County seniors as far as graduation ceremonies and the distribution of diplomas?
Well, I think Adam and I would both defer to Dr. Orsina over there. We've been working hard to come up with a plan for that. There are limitations. Right now, the limitations include no more than 10 people in one place at a time. Being able to use social distancing and masks and those things. The one thing that I would say all the superintendents collectively agree is we want to do right by students. We want to honor their accomplishments. We've all tried to do different things on social media, recognizing students. We've all had our cap and gown pickup time. So we're doing everything we can to celebrate our students the best way possible. The one thing I think that we could all agree on is graduation, like everything else right now, is going to look differently. And we're trying to put that together. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to follow, we have a responsibility as well for community safety. So we want to work hand in hand with the health department to make sure that we can provide something that honors kids, but also protects our citizens and falls under the guidelines with the health department.
I don't have anything really different to add than Mrs. Allen. What I would say is in Fairbanks, we had committed to 2 deliverables several weeks ago. We had said that our seniors would still have a graduation date of May 23rd. That's when we would officially say they graduated from high school. And on that day, we would offer a virtual celebration that would include images of our seniors, speeches, turning of the tassel, a lot of those traditional things that would be in a face-to-face graduation. We recognize that's not ideal, but we also know that we have kids leaving for the military where they have to be military employment, moving, they have to take that step. And then we have been looking at options to do something in a physical setting. We just haven't defined what that is, and I'm not going to go through the steps we have to do that, but that's still a work in progress, and we hope to make some definitive plans over the coming days. So, you know, again, our heart goes out to our seniors and all of our students that are missing milestones right now, because we know how important those things are, or them being altered. The contributions our students make to not just our school, but also to the community are tremendous. And we want to honor that, and we want to recognize the work that they've done in Fairbanks, since many of them were kindergartners. So that's very important to our school community, and we want to figure out the right way to do it given the conditions that we have.
Awesome, thank you.
Taylor, can I weigh in just for a second? Just to provide a little parameter around what the superintendents have said. First off, the superintendents have been working very hard with the health department on this particular issue for quite some time at this point. How do we address any gathering of students in a safe manner moving forward? And what Superintendent Mencken indicated right at the beginning is that the order that's in place currently and what we expect to be in place after the 1st still has these limits on realistically what we can do. Couple that with the fact that the Ohio Department of Education released its own guidance for graduation that has really said that they are encouraging only virtual graduation ceremonies to reduce the spread of the disease. And the safety factor is a huge piece to this or any gathering. And when we're dealing with a highly communicable disease, one of the first questions that you asked this evening was how do we protect those families that have a vulnerable member? And we have to take that into account with whatever we do with graduation, is that an outbreak or the spread of the disease in a school setting is tantamount to creating an outbreak in our community. It's one of the fastest ways disease could spread throughout our community is through a school setting, just because we're all together and we're together closely. And that would translate to a graduation ceremony that involves in-person graduation. So we are very committed to working with the superintendents. We've had some good discussions. We're still waiting for the final order to come out on Friday to see if those would be allowed to occur. what can we do to recognize students in a safe and responsible way. So we are committed to trying to do something with our superintendents, but we have to uphold the order that is released on Friday. So that is what we're currently waiting on.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to question 7, which comes from Melissa.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. I go to North Union, and my question is, should seniors who haven't already accepted college offers go ahead and accept and start making non-refundable deposits, or wait and see if what the future looks like?
So what I would say is I would really look at your college and see what they're saying their deadline is for that. So just thinking off the top of my head, Ohio State did not move that deadline back. Their deadline is still May 1st. And so you would, if you definitely wanted to attend there in fall, no matter what it looks like, because at this point we don't know, will they have students on campus or not? Then if you wanted to attend in fall, then you would need to get that in for May 1st. But really, I would let students know, really you need to talk to the colleges that you are planning on attending in the fall to see what they think. And a lot of times you can actually find that on the web as well if you go to your school's website. So again, just using Ohio State as an example, Ohio State does have for incoming freshmen a website that I think it says like coronavirus updates, and it does go through that, like those different deadlines. I think that's just also, you sitting down with your families and having that conversation. Do you feel like fall is a good time for you to go back? If you are someone that, you didn't really like the online experience and we don't know if online is going to happen with the colleges, then, that's something to talk about and talk with the school about, get in contact with the admissions person at the college that you're planning on attending. And they can really talk you through that a little bit more and maybe help you make a decision.
Okay, along with that question I said May 1st is when seniors are supposed to accept college offers and financial aid packages. Can this deadline be extended due to the current circumstances, and should they consider a gap year or taking cheaper online college courses from home next year?
Again, I'd probably say check with the schools. Each school is going to be different as far as that May 1st deadline, whether they're extending it or not. A lot of schools do talk about that there's some students who now are in a different financial situation than what they were before. So it's really going to be based on your individual situation, on the college that you're attending. So I would just say, get in contact with that college specifically, walk them through your situation. And then they would be able to kind of tell you whether that you should, that you have to stay with that May 1st deadline, or if they can, change the date, that kind of a thing. And like I said, again, I think, just kind of sitting down, having the discussion with you and your family about, your learning style, and if going into college in the fall, you think is the best thing for you or not. At this point, a lot of those colleges haven't kind of come out with what that fall schooling is going to look like.
Thank you. We're going to move on to question 8, which is also from Melissa.
What are some suggestions for coping with techniques for when we are feeling sad or anxious?
I can take that. Can you hear me? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you, Janae. Thanks.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I think a lot of it's just owning your feelings. They're yours and you're allowed to have them. Finding the positive in the situation is always good. Also connect with others, and then also eliminate toxic influences, which includes limiting your media sources. Don't get so involved with having the news channels on 24/7, because that does create anxiety. So limiting that, making sure you're going to the correct website like the CDC and getting the facts of the information. And then creating healthy routines is really important. self-care, and then making sure please don't use drugs and alcohol to cope. Please maintain like good hygiene, get enough sleep, exercise at home, and just keeping that healthy diet are all good skills to help kind of get through your anxiety and depression you're feeling right now.
And to go off of Janae, definitely like she was saying, it's okay to feel these feelings. We're going to have a lot of up and downs. So just being okay with those things, but finding those healthy coping mechanisms that work for you and reaching out for help and talking if those feelings become unmanageable. It is important to engage in activities you enjoy, but also practice those social distancing guidelines. So exercise, getting outside, getting fresh air, staying connected with people through FaceTime, calling, texting. I definitely agree, don't overindulge in the news and social media during this time. And focus on what you can control. And like Janae said, trying to have a positive outlook and see the positive in it. And as well as, like she said, sleep, diet, and drinking water, just a good routine. Mindfulness practices are definitely something that's very helpful as well. And just from Mary Haven's standpoint, we are available for services, for telehealth, and open for crisis services. I know that's I think a question later down the line, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that as well.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to post a list of our local resources for y'all in terms of mental health in the chat box. So if anyone needs those, they're going to go up here in a minute. And I just want to emphasize that I heard a great metaphor earlier this week that we are all going through the same storm, but we may be in different boats. So some of us come from backgrounds that are very privileged and we're lucky and able to continue our jobs from home and have parents that do that, and then others aren't so lucky. So just never think that your experience is not valid. Know that we're all in it together, even if we're coming at it from a different point of view.
Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
One last thing. So the stages of grief doesn't have to mean always that you've lost a loved one. So to like the seniors, allow yourself to go through those stages of grief, of not having your prom, of not having a typical graduation, kind of that denial and anger and bargaining, depression and acceptance. Or even for the younger kids, not being able to say goodbye to your teachers or your classmates you won't see until the fall. So kind of allowing yourself to go through that process is really healthy.
We're going to move on to our last question, which is going to be posed by Olivia.
Hi, my name is Olivia Brake. I'm homeschooled freshman and I live in Fairbanks District. How are the local mental health board, and other similar organizations preparing for the likely increase of teens seeking services and treatment? It can take several months to see a therapist in Union County. Are they hiring more people, seeking additional funding, offering group therapy online, or offering telehealth options for teens that can't or don't want to leave their homes?
A great question, Olivia. Thanks. Wow, we are preparing for not just teens, but a lot of people. I kind of think it's like we've been, in terms of our mental health, we've been holding a beach ball underwater, and when we let go, it's going to pop up. So when a lot of this, isolation, and we start to try to go back into our lives, and things aren't quite like they used to be, I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people. It's probably going to be hard for me. So one of the things that we are doing is always making sure that we have good supports by phone. We have our 24/7 crisis line. It's been posted in the chat. We have, our text line, which is very valuable if you don't want to talk to somebody. These are trained social workers and counselors on the other end, 24/7. All of our agencies that we fund through the Mental Health Board, Ohio Guidestone, Mary Haven, Lighthouse Behavioral Health, PASS, they've all transitioned to telehealth. So we do have that option. They're all taking new clients. There are some maybe private providers in town that there's a waiting list of a couple months to get into, but at our agencies, you can pretty much get in within a few days. So one of the things I really wanted to make sure when I came to our community is that people have access when they need it. So Mary Haven runs our crisis services. So they're open until midnight, every night of the week. On the weekends, it's 5 p.m. to midnight, but open till midnight every day of the week. And you can just walk in. It doesn't have to be like a super, I'm going to hurt myself crisis, something super severe, but just if you're really struggling and or if, people that we're all living together are kind of on top of each other now, and we don't have our space, and, there's family tensions. So, you can call or go there at any point, and there's going to be somebody there. I'm always interested in hearing from our teens what's the best way to make this available to you. We have a lot of funding that has come into our community. We've been very lucky recently. We've got a nice federal grant that came in before COVID, and I'm certainly hoping that we are working, to kind of advocate with the governor's office in our state to say, hey, this is going to be a big deal after people come in. So, so I'm always interested in how you need to access services. So one of the things that we do that I think is different than a lot of places, and I'm really glad that we have such good relationships with our schools, is we fund positions like Janae and Mackenzie and Kyle Poling, who's being very quiet on here with our alternative peer group program, and a lot of positions that really kind of mingle in with you where you live. And so, I'm always interested. One place we don't get a lot of connection is with people that are homeschooled, because they're kind of doing their own thing, and we don't always kind of remember that you're there. So I really appreciate you being part of this, and those services are all available to you as well. And we are all of our agencies are now doing online support groups. We have a support group that we are offering through the Mental Health Board that meets on Wednesday nights for COVID issues. And if you say, hey, wow, we really need this, I am all ears.
Yeah. I think, with all the schools, teaming up and trying to provide just all the different services is great. Having lots of, stuff to do in the community. Of course, right now we can't really do that as much, but that's helpful. So, and then just maybe, reaching out more to homeschoolers, maybe some sort of, co-op group or something, and just to get them more involved.
Awesome. I think sometimes we think of mental health help as, going to counseling every week and sitting and just like opening your guts and telling everything that's, horribly wrong. But a lot of people don't really, that's not really what they need. They just need to know somebody listens to me, somebody cares about me, somebody is, willing to take my side. It's great to talk to your mom or dad or, an adult in your household. But, sometimes they're in the mix and you don't want to involve them all that much. So, it's nice to just have somebody kind of neutral to talk to. And so, anytime we can make those services available, we can. We're doing some really neat things. Ren Hawkins, who's on the call and is just flower potting down there, is working for a lot of things to help parents know how to help kids, as well as, some of the kids that sometimes get traditionally overlooked in communities. So we want to make sure that you have a voice. And I really appreciate this. I'm always looking for money. I'm the guy that is known in the world as who I'll dig in anybody's couch cushions for money, so I'm always looking for funding and great ideas. And if you have them and, want to take some leadership around them, I am all ears.
Yes, this is Ren. I totally agree. Any ideas, we're more than welcome to hear. And we'd love to include you guys in on our services. So, and your opinions. So I'd love it if you reached out.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
it's a tough time, it's a tough time for the adults. We're experiencing it in real time right along with everybody else. And, I think sometimes it's easier for kids. Sometimes you're much more honest than we are. You say, hey, this is, I'm struggling here, or, I'm having a bad day. And adults try to put on a tough face, and we aren't quite as honest as you are sometimes, but we know this is going to be a tough time. We know that even when things seem normal again, that we're different. We're going into the future differently. So we've got to be, we've got to think about that and take care of each other.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any insight on this question?
I would fast forward. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I just wanted to add about crisis services for Maryhaven. If anyone's just afraid about, exposing themselves for Maryhaven for our walk-in crisis, we are, taking temperatures, providing masks. We have a specific crisis office space that we can put an individual in and Zoom with them in a separate room. So we're practicing all of those protocols at our office to make sure it's a safe experience for that individual. So I just wanted to add that.
When we look forward to when we're looking forward to our planning for the fall, we anticipate a lot of students and staff coming back to schools carrying significant social emotional needs, including trauma. So we're looking at how we can scaffold services into our buildings for the fall, because that's going to be, I think, a key component to our reentry plan, is how do we care for the well-being of all of our school community. Because as Dr. Atkins said, we're all living this in real time, and we're not really sure how it's going to come out. And one of those, those points may be when we come back to familiar surroundings, like our schools, like our friends, like our colleagues. And we're anticipating that we're going to see some need there when we come back together. So we'll be working with our community partners to make sure we have more services available than we typically do. We anticipate that's going to be something that we're going to have to address heading into our fall.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add to that? All right, then we're going to move into the next portion of this meeting. So this is an open question and answer. If any teams on here have any questions that they'd like to ask these professionals, go ahead and put them in the chat. And as Dr. Atkins has shown, if any of you guys have questions for us, we're happy to answer them, and we're happy to provide you with any insight we might have.
I have a question for Dr. Russell. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for all that you're doing to, take care of people when they're sick and to be ready. So can you tell us a little bit about what your day is like now?
Every day is a brand new experience. One of the really challenging things that's been about this crisis for all of us is that things change on an everyday basis. What I do today might not be what I'm still planning on doing a couple of days from now. Fortunately now, I think we're starting to see things kind of open up, things widen out. I was just joking with one of my partners that a couple of days ago, I would have been very uncomfortable making plans 72 hours out for the hospital. Today, I spent all day talking about what we're going to be doing in August. So that's a really, really great thing for me. Our day really focuses around how we can continue providing care to all the residents in Union County and everyone that comes to the hospital in the safest way we can. Everything we've mentioned, everything Dr. Orsina mentioned earlier about all the social distancing, everything that's going to need to continue, all that's very, very important. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of changes at the hospital, and those are going to stick around for a while, but we're going to manage that. I did want to say it isn't work related specifically, but I know a lot of teens in the area were big contributors to our volunteer program here at the hospital. It kills me to not have those volunteers here in the hospital, because I think they made such a huge contribution to the care of the patients here. I don't really anticipate that changing, unfortunately, anytime soon, but that is a program that we will definitely look to restart as soon as we're able to do it safely.
I see that Brandy Hibbs, who leads our Teen Leaders Club at the YMCA, has posed a question in the chat asking if our roads seem to be safer. So this is probably directed towards our law enforcement officials, since everyone is staying home a lot more. So that's a really interesting and good question, Brandy.
Yes, so that is a really good question. Obviously, with the stay-at-home order, the traffic volume is a little bit lower. A little bit surprisingly, though, the traffic volume really hasn't decreased quite that much. In a relevant term, the amount of crashes that are occurring is sort of at the same ratio as we have the traffic volume. So there's always a need to continue to drive the appropriate speed limit, to wear your safety belt and not drive distracted. All those threats are still there, no matter the amount of traffic volume that's out there. So the potential for danger is still there, even with a low increase or a lowered increase of traffic volume.
I had one question that kind of came up while we were planning our questions that I think is worth asking right now. Does anyone have suggestions or ideas for supporting our senior citizen community? I know we're focusing a lot on our teens, but they did voice that they have a passion for helping others greatly, and that's definitely the community that is most at risk.
We had right around the Easter holiday, one of our seniors led a letter writing campaign or a card making campaign for the Brookdale Senior Living Home. And based on just folks in our school community were able to create each resident at Brookdale got 4 cards a piece from students in Fairbanks. So that was like, when we think of, they don't have to be grand ideas. That was just something that was a really, she volunteered there, knew that was a connection that would support the residents at Brookdale, put something out on social media, and within 24 hours was able to build the momentum and support to pull that off. And so that was led by one of our high school seniors. And just little acts like that go a long way right now.
I think that's a great question, Rachel. I'm texting Holly Zweisig to see if she'll talk about our Life Bio program, but our board has contracted with a company called Life Bio, which is a Marysville company, but they're a national company. They work all over the United States. And their specific idea is to interview seniors, senior adults, and kind of learn about their lives. And so they've done some really cool things with students interviewing like older senior citizens about their lives, and then they put it together in a book. And so we're really moving forward with that. Right now, Life Bio is doing something for our seniors called My Hello Line. So seniors can sign up. It's free. And every week, somebody will call them and the senior citizen, and they have special questions that they ask, and they just chit chat and talk, and they reminisce, and they do fun things. So that's a great thing. So I'll let Holly add anything that she wants to add about that.
Sure. The only thing I would add to the project that we're hoping to do in the fall is the Connect program that Dr. Phil was referencing is really an intergenerational program which is trying to match students with seniors to interview each other about their life experiences and memories. And then both the student and the senior would get a book, which would include pictures of themselves and their memories within it. So we're excited to move forward with that. It might happen virtually through more like a Zoom interview like this. But one of the things I think that we also wanted to share too is how important it is to just reach out to others to stay connected. I love seeing all your faces on here today. I'm interested for our teens who are on the call, how many of you have reached out to maybe a grandparent during this time also, who also might be feeling isolated and not being able to connect to family, and how important it is for them to feel like they can stay involved with their family, extended family, particularly grandchildren?
Yeah, we've definitely called grandparents usually every week or so, try to just have a FaceTime with them and talk. And it's a little bit difficult just because some of them have not used this technology before. But,
Taylor, did you have to teach somebody how to use Zoom? Because I spent 30 minutes teaching my mom, who's almost 80, about broke me.
Yeah, I had to teach my grandparents how to use FaceTime. They'd never done it before, so
good for you.
Yeah.
I had reached out to my grandmother recently, so.
Good for you, Nate.
My grandmother is 90 years old, so my whole family lives within a block of her, so they're all taking turns checking on her and bringing her food every day.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, I think
Looking
we'll move
in on each other is important.
Absolutely. Thanks, Holly. We're going to move on just for time's sake because I don't want this to take too much longer, although these are awesome questions. So Nancy posed a great question in the chat directed to Coach Johnson on what our student athletes could be doing to stay ready and toned for fall sports if they do happen. So Coach Johnson, you want to answer that one?
Yeah. Best thing is to obviously stay active. I think from a mental health standpoint, I think exercise will do a lot of people good. I know specifically for my program, our football program, we have provided them with a weight program or a body weight program, whatever they have access to. If they don't have weights, they can do the body weight program. They've got a whole running program and nutrition program that we've given them. Nerve impulse stuff. So we've got them busy. We're keeping them busy about an hour a day. And for a fall athlete or a winter athlete, the best thing to do is stay in routine. Just kind of like academics. I know I've got a sophomore and we'll have a freshman next year. We get up 9 to 12 is schoolwork, 12 to 1 is workout, and then the rest of the day can be theirs. So stay active, get outside, get some fresh air, do what you've got to do. And, we track them. They've got to report back to us every Sunday by 7 p.m. with what they did for the week. And we're having competitions. And like this week, we're competing how many guys will reach out to their competition group coach and give them goals for the year and try to keep them mentally involved and physically involved. So that would be my recommendation to all athletes.
I can also speak a little bit to what the YMCA is doing to prepare for you guys. So our fitness center department is creating a weightlifting program for teens as well that should be starting up in a little bit. And then our entire sports department and youth sports leagues, which typically go towards our younger kiddos, but it's just easy to keep in mind that we're working on creating virtual learning and ways to work out and keep that health at home as well. So just keep an eye out for all that kind of stuff from everyone. It looks like we have another question. So where are the funds most needed right now in Union County? How can teens help bring awareness to these issues and raise funds?
So I can talk a little bit about that as well. So as an organization in Union County, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls lately with other business owners in Union County Chamber of Commerce, and I think that's a great question and a very thoughtful question for you to ask. And I would say support your local businesses in Union County. There's a lot of really wonderful organizations here in the county that are going to be struggling because of lack of business and or loss of revenue. And so if you can afford to shop where you're going to shop anyways, do continue to shop local if you can, online options, and to stay safe, obviously doing it. And then also think about your local nonprofits in Union County as well and try to support them if you have the means. But really thoughtful question, and thank you for that. And I see Jason was gonna say something as well, so.
No, I like Trevor's answer better than mine, so let's go with his.
All right, thank you.
That works. Okay, so we'll have this be our last question for today. You guys have stuck around for a great amount of time. So it looks like we have the question of, does anyone think that we are taking adequate precautions to protect fire, police, EMS, etc., from the virus of COVID-19?
I will weigh in on behalf of the incident command here at UG County. Early on in the COVID-19 response, you've heard it on the media several times, PPE, personal protective equipment, has been a difficult thing to procure. Union County was in a very fortunate position at the start of this crisis. We had a fairly good supply of personal protective equipment to start the crisis, and we worked very very diligently with our EMA, who really has handled a lot of this in our local EMS, to procure just every bit of PPE that was out there that was not needed as businesses closed down, so we could transition that to PPE for our first responders. The one thing we've had the most difficulty getting for them has been gowns, but for the most part, we've been able to provide the PPE that was necessary. The other part of protecting our first responders that is just as critical as the PPE is being able to do the testing for those individuals if they have a potential exposure. Early on, it was very difficult to get the testing supplies. You probably have heard that ad nauseum at this point. We are now at a place where we've pretty consistently with our partners at the Memorial Health have been able to provide testing for those folks, first responders who are exposed as outpatient testing. So as of right now, we're in a pretty good place, but it took us a while to get there.
I'd like to echo Jason's comments on that also. I think across the board, fire, EMS, even here at the hospital, we started out in a really great place. That comes with years of planning before this. I think Union County in particular we're really, really fortunate in that we were pretty prepared and that everything's gone as well as it has. And that we're going to be able to continue to provide that level of support to our first responders as we move forward.
Great. Well, if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to throw it back to Kaylee so she can close us out. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for tuning in here, and we hope to continue holding these as we progress through this time. So Kaylee, take it away.
My whole job is just to echo her sentiments. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been not impossible to get information, but the chance to get it from reliable sources was really appreciated. We appreciate everything that we do. We're so thankful that you're out there and you're working to keep us safe and to keep the rest of our community safe. So stay safe out there, keep doing your jobs. You guys are doing so awesome, and we can't wait to see you again.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Good job.